Hi guys, Alicia with Working Dog Radio, Torchlight Canine, and Oil Capital Canine Fund. Thank you guys for tuning in to another awesome episode. Please check us out on YouTube. It's a new format for us. We'd love to have you as a subscriber. We're going to start doing some training videos and some other cool stuff on there. So we would really appreciate your follow on there. We'd like to take a second to thank our amazing sponsors. Without them, none of this would be possible. So guys, please check out KINETIC Dog Food, 513-615-6904. They are amazing. American Aluminum Accessories. They make all things canine insert. They've got some new heat alarms. Please check them out. Give them a call at 800-277-0869. Horizon Structures, everything mild to wild in a dog kennel. They have it. They will drop it off at your door. Give them a call at 888-447-4337. If you guys haven't checked out Highland Canine Training yet, what are you waiting for? Jason and Aaron are amazing. They've got all kinds of courses, classes, and schools going on. Please check out Highland Canine Training at Tactical Police, the letter K, the number 9, training.com. Ray Allen Manufacturing, right there in Colorado. Everything is sewn there. They are amazing. They do so many collaborations with so many of the actual working canine guys in our industry, including me. Give them a shout. Check them out at rayallen.com and use the discount code WDR10RAY for 10% all things Ray Allen. DOGTRA.com. If you have an e-collar, if you use an e-collar, if you have a working dog or a pet dog, check out DOGTRA. They've got all of the products that you need. You can go to dogtra.com and use discount code WDR10 for 10% off a single item over $200. Enjoy the episode. We'll be back. Thanks.
All right, everybody, we are back. Working Dog Radio, broadcasting the bite from the Fun House, the second episode of a row. I'm sitting at the Fun House in Canton, Ohio. My name is Eric Stambro. With me from his home office in Tulsa, Oklahoma, is Ted Summers. Ted, what's going on, buddy?
Nothing. We had some gnarly storms here last night, and part of form, I lost a tree in my front yard. That's fun. Part of form, I think the heat index is 119 right now while recording this. So I'm in the air conditioning in my office. I'm getting ready. I've got a handler school starting in 2 weeks-ish. So I'm just doing some finishing up on some of these dogs that are pre-trained. I've got about 5 days worth of stuff to do on them with 14 days left. So I'm slightly ahead of schedule, which is nice. And then I think I have 17 or 18 handlers in this class. So
Jesus.
So some of them are retreads, which is nice. So I have experienced dogs with inexperienced handlers, so it should be interesting. But I got some of the homies coming in to help instruct some of our state certifiers and some of my other handlers, my experienced handlers. Speaking of which, that dog that I always talk about on the podcast, the huge Malinois, Ark, he passed away last month. Yeah, he was retired. I think he was 11. It's been a while since I imported him, but like 11 and a half. He's old. On top of that, he was 130 pounds, and he wasn't fat. And he had like a bump on his paw that they thought was like a spider bite or like allergies or something. Turned out it was some kind of crazy ass bone cancer. And so they put him down. His funeral is today. It's actually going on right now. And Alicia's up there, but but anyway, his handler will be helping with some of the instruction during handler
That's
school.
a lot, man. 10 is the most I ever had. I did it by myself. I was still at the police department.
That would
10
suck.
dogs by myself. I had one retread in the class. He helped me out. That was rough. At the best day of that class was the last day. Those guys were so sick of me, and I was so sick of them, and not disliking them. Just listen. I don't want to listen to me drone on anymore. 10, and we were doing 12-week classes back then or 14-week classes. There's some stories of me just going, fuck it. You guys do whatever the fuck you want, get in my car and driving off and leaving. Because we were working on outs. It was close to certification. We had this dog that I had dialed in, and he wasn't outing. And the handler's like, I'm going, go up, up, up. And he's like, I'm fucking all the way up. And the decoy looks down and goes, he doesn't have his collar on.
Dude.
I got in the car and left. Now, to be transparent, I had an extra job to go to. I had to leave anyways, but I made it like some thing. And I remember after I left, everybody was looking around, and the one guy, somebody goes, is he coming back? And the dude who's the retread, he was actually from Tennessee, so he had that accent. And he's like, I don't think so, boys. I think we fucked that one up. And so the next day when I got there, I had a whole conversation about professionalism and, making sure your shit's dialed in. And we are a fucking 2 weeks or a week from the end of this. And anyways, that was a tough one, 10 handlers by myself. So
I run it like an HRD because I have a mix of dual and single. Plus, I got a dual purpose bomb dog in this class. So what I usually do is I split the singles and the double and the duals, and they go to different groups, and then we meet back up. And so they'll go with somebody run odor, so that you're not standing around looking at each other while the bite work guys are doing all their bite work stuff. Single purpose guys are like, oh, I mean, what do you want me to do? Well, so that's always a problem. But
I have a handler class coming up starting the first week of September. It's 3 dogs. 2 of them are their second dogs. One of them is Garber, who works for me, who's been through my trainer's course. So I'm not going to have to do every single rep of every single day, because I have a seminar I have to do. So it would be nice to be able to step away a little bit, which I've never done. I've never done that in a class ever.
It helps to have people, because I've got to go to an HRD in West Virginia. We're going back there at the last week of that class, right before they're ready to certify. By that time, though, they're all like ready. They're all doing blinds, and they're on autopilot at that point anyway, or usually. So
yeah,
I just need babysitters and, to make sure we're not doing dumb shit. But yeah. So today we have one of our buddies on, one of the sponsors of the podcast from the early onset, one of our buddies, great buddies from North Carolina, Jason Purgason. Jason, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Hell yeah. It's good we have you back on. So what have you been up to since when was the last time we had you on?
Episode
it was
10, dude.
It was like single. It was episode 10. This is 200 and something. 200 and, I don't know. Somebody will correct me at some point. It's 200 and something. So it's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. But we see you at all the conferences and shit, so we still get to hang out with you. What have you guys been up to?
Been busy getting ready. It's conference season again, as you know. So we've got quite a few that we're attending coming up, trying to get everything ready, trying to get classes prepared, that sort of thing. All the things that go along with going to conferences. So
being a vendor at conferences too, not just
all of it. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
which is way different than just showing up.
Yeah, we got hits coming up in a week, I think it is, and then we got ICP conference the week after that. We got a handler school starting that same week, so I'll go to that conference, come back, and then 3 more weeks to wrap up handler school. Same time we got a trainer school going on, so a lot of moving parts around here.
So for those who don't remember or don't know you, he's the owner of Highland Canine. And again, if you listen to the show and if you've listened for a while, he's been around with us for a long time.
Since the beginning.
I spent a lot of time sitting at tables at these conferences having a beer with Jason, just like scratching our heads at some of the shit in this industry and things like that.
That, or with fucking Aaron giving us moonshine.
Yeah.
Like Jason's wife giving us cherry flavored moonshine.
Listen, you Northerners, it's not smart to drink with the Southerners when it comes. There's a little moonshine. What we're used to up here is not what they're bringing to the table. So I think I burned my nose hairs out a couple of times. But
it's a cultural thing, Eric.
Yeah, Jason's wife will drink you under the table, so you better watch your ass. So let's talk about Highland Canine a little bit. Talk about everything you guys do and offer, and just give a brief history, like your law enforcement career part, and then we'll jump right into the episode.
Started in law enforcement, 94, 95. Wasn't in it long. Became a dog handler. I'd done some training before that, but working with pet dogs, a lot of labs, that sort of thing. Got into law enforcement, ended up becoming a handler, being a supervisor. Training some dogs for our agency, left there, went to work for Tar Heel for a bit. And then 2006, my wife and I decided to start our own thing. So we found us a place here in the middle of absolutely nowhere, North Carolina. We're in a little place called Harmony. Started a smaller business and then just have grown it over the years. So we've been in business for 18 years now. So
yeah, we've had your wife on talking about, it's crazy because you guys do a lot. Like, I am always fascinated by these school for dog trainers, these long, like however, 4, 5, 6 months, whatever yours is, the dynamics behind running one of those, the drama, the personalities, the marriage breakups, the hookups, the every freaking weird shit, injury, sickness, crying, everything that happens. How do you guys, is it Groundhog Day every school? Like, you can always expect some bullshit?
yeah, you can always expect surprises, but no, every class seems to be different. You know, it's like a dog, man. Everyone that comes through is different in its own way. Are there going to be hiccups? Oh, yeah, absolutely. But usually different ones, not always. You get some repeats. But I tell everybody, I've been doing this so long, I used to say, man, I've seen it all. Nothing will surprise me now. But people prove me wrong every single day.
I was going to say, and when's the last time you saw something new?
Yeah.
Today.
Yeah, so we get our school here is 6 months. Yeah. So, well, better part of 6 months. So we got folks living with us for 6 months, in and around campus and, in class every day, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And that dynamic in itself can be a very interesting one. And then we get folks from just all walks of life. I mean, we've got our class right now, probably youngest person's 18. Oldest person, I'm going to guess, is probably early, mid-50s. We've had it range even more than that. Depending on time of the year, we get a little younger crowd, just graduated high school or finished up a 2-year degree at college or something. Other parts of the year, we get a little older crowd. So, we've got people just graduated high school, and then we got folks that are just leaving the military after 24 years, sitting in the same room. So you can imagine that dynamic is a little interesting.
Yeah. Ted and I have talked about this, and everyone with a business will tell you in this current climate, it's hard to find good people, and you got to foster those people. You've got a couple people that have been with you for a minute. Like, how do you do that?
I get lucky. I'll be honest with you on some part. Yeah. I got folks, I got quite a few been with me more than a decade. Some of my younger trainers have been with me 6, 7 years. They love what they do. We are, a lot of people say this, we're like family here, but the reality is we really are, in that we, everybody eats lunch together every day. I mean, every day of the week. We're all sitting down, we're all eating lunch, taking a break, talking a little shop, figuring out what's going on with everybody's families, what's going on here and there. We work pretty closely together. Everybody has their own area of responsibility, obviously, but we have a really, really cool, pretty cohesive team. And, everybody's sort of mission focused. We know what's got to get done, and everybody picks up and plays their part to make sure that happens.
When you have the class going on, you have students in there, are you kind of watching to see who you might want to cherry pick out of there? Are you looking for recruitment out of there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we get a lot of it. Well, everybody that works for us, with the exception of our office staff, everybody that works for us has been through our program. So they've been through school. General progression is they come through that pretty much 6-month program. They end up interning for us for probably another 6 months. And then if they're good, we're going to hire them, pick them up. We're going to find a place for them most of the time. So
Ted, aren't your trainers are all former interns, right?
Not all of them. They all start out as an intern, and some of them, like I've got one now that went through Kennelwood with Jeremy and Dave, and they do a good job. And on top of that, I hire people that don't necessarily want to do police dogs, that want to just stay on the pet side. And so if they come in and they want to do the police side, then there is an intern process for sure, because that is that's a little different deal. They have to work on the pet side too. So they have pet side, plus they have the canine side, and they have different responsibilities. I think once the 501 gets going here, I'll probably have dedicated canine people, and that's all they're going to do. Right now, I don't do that though. But it's pets.
Yeah, I listen to your episodes every time they come out, and I do chuckle just a little every time I hear both of you say something about those pet dogs. Because I remember on episode 10, it was a little different narrative. So you've switched over to the dark side now.
Yeah. The funny thing is too, I was just thinking I think it was when we had Erin on, she said that most of the people start, not most, a lot of the people start your class wanting to do the working dogs. And at the end, they're like, nah, I'm good. And I'll do the pet dog. So
I don't do any pets myself. I mean, I help like with the gnarly ones. And then when we have a dog that's got a very particular type of issue that I see a lot, I'll step in and help them. But for the most part, and then I don't interact with pet clients because I'm who I am. And I'm
drummer from the Muppets.
Yeah, exactly. Even my kennel managers, if I'm around, she's like, okay, you can go back to the back now and you can go back to your police dogs. I'm like, all right, fine. Because I mean, we'll have pet clients come in and they look at me covered in tattoos and beard, and they're like, fuck is this guy? And my kennel manager's like, it's one of the owners. I'm like, oh, really? Okay. So I am not the face of the company, of the pet side anymore.
Right.
No.
But you're right, Jason. I can admit I'm definitely was like, F that. How much? Okay, let me try that. and I remember talking to you about it, and you're like, hey, dude, you're way behind. Like, you're missing out. And there's somebody else I was talking to that was like, yeah, I'm getting out of the police dog stuff, man. And they said, say there's 1 million dogs in this country, like 10,000 of them are police dogs, and there's a lot of people vying for it. Just, I always say God makes dogs every day, and very few of them are working dogs. One of the reasons why we want to talk to you is not only do you have this going on, that going on, you guys are doing all this stuff through the business. You got involved pretty heavy in the IACP. You want to talk about what that organization is, and let's get into what we want to talk about today.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have been a member of IACP for really, really long time. Our business has been platinum sponsors of the organization for a number of years, either gold or platinum sponsors for quite a few years. IACP started in 99. It is a professional organization for trainers, handlers, groomers, vets, anybody in the canine industry that serves as a professional. So, a lot of reasons why that particular organization exists. There are a few particular value propositions of the organization I find to be really important. I got on the board in January of this year, and then there were some changes, and now I'm the president of the ICP.
Nope.
So for those listening, it's the International Association of Canine Professionals. Yeah. It is not the International Association of Chiefs of Police.
Yeah, thanks for adding that.
Just FYI.
Yeah.
Because the latter can F off.
Well, I mean,
yeah,
we're not them. Yeah.
Right.
Google ICP, they're going to show up first. But no, this is a canine professional organization, not the Chiefs of Police. Yeah, good point. Very good point.
Is this just in the U.S. or all over the world, or where are you guys?
No, it's global. We've got members in a little over 40 countries. I think it is on all 6 continents. So no, we've got folks in Europe, we've got folks in Asia, Central, South America. So no, not just U.S. based.
I think you got I get a pretty good amount of guys in Australia, if I remember right.
Yep, correct.
They come out of there.
Yeah, got some,
because I know they come here, or you guys have some of the pretty cool, huge conferences, or whatever. Probably where you got talked into being the president, one of them things, but. So what's the mission statement? What do they do there?
So a number of things that the organization provides. Education, obviously. Certification is another big component. Member support is the third one. And one of the bigger ones, I think, in my opinion, is the legislative efforts of the organization. And that's something I think, we really need to do a little better job as an industry of understanding, number one. And number two, creating a bit of a unified voice. Because if we don't, I'm going to be honest with you, things in the United States particularly are going to change for a lot of people. And it's going to happen in our lifetime. Incredibly careful. There's a lot of legislation out there. Some of it has already found its way to the United States, but we're working with folks currently in Singapore, Central and South America to Ecuador. There's legislation that's being proposed in Mexico City, believe it or not. So these are places where you generally would not expect, the type of legislation that we're talking about, training tool bans, banning prong collars, banning e-collars. There's a group out there that wants to see those things go away. And there are places in the world where they already have, and there's been some fallout. There's been some pretty serious fallout. It's impacted not only pet owners, it's impacted working dogs. I'll be honest with you. I've been in the police dog industry close to 30 years. I will say, based on my best estimate, probably 80+% of the dogs that are out there or handlers, teams, are in a position where they need training tools to get their job done every day. Plain and simple. There's just a limited number of dogs that are selected for this type of work that are capable of doing it without any guidance or assistance. And those training tools are incredibly valuable to not only the initial training. I mean, I know, Eric, you do some e-collar classes. Ted, I'm sure you've used prong collars, e-collars a lot in the training of the dogs you're working with. And the reality is they're an integral part of our ability to effectively communicate with these dogs and, create a situation where they're able to do what they do. The reality is without them, it's going to be a game changer, absolute game changer.
Yeah, and we're kind of talking about like the 30,000-foot view here of like all dogs in the country, right? Like, and from pets to bird dogs, hunting dogs, to canines, to multi-purpose canines for the military, like kind of like a global broad view here. Just like speaking from Fallout, my vendor in Europe sends me dogs that will go through a selection process with some units there. And they're like, yeah, we like the dog. And the trainers, to their credit, are like, yeah, we're not going to be able to reliably be able to get this dog, working where we want him without some form of prong or e-collar, which I get. And that doesn't necessarily mean positive punishment, but, and so they're like, I'll send them to the Americans. When we had Steve on, from Australia, Googe's handler, he told the story about, and this is a guy that was operating at the highest level of like the Australian military as a canine handler and had to have can you imagine a dev group or whoever, whatever, pick a fucking alphabet soup, special operations unit from JSOC. Can you imagine one of those guys having to go to a congressperson in Washington, D.C. and ask for permission to use a specific tool?
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's a I hate to say it, but it's an absolute potential reality. It absolutely is. This is how I don't want to be Chicken Little by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not here to tell everybody that the sky's falling. What I'm telling you is that there are forces out there that are putting this on the horizon for us in the United States. And,
so who is doing that? Like, is it a dedicated organization? I said dickheaded. Is it a dedicated
exactly.
organization? Freud was right. Is it a dedicated organization, or is it kind of a loose conglomerate of people?
Blue hairs.
I'm not going to use an adjective, but
it's really sort of, honestly, it's really sort of a mix of both. And I say that because there are very dedicated organizations out there who are not going to come out. And here's the problem. They're not going to come out and say, hey, we want to ban training tools, because they know right now is not the time for that to necessarily be received, right? They're not going to come out and say, let's create a ban of all training tools across the United States. I think they're keeping that sort of in their back pocket. Number one. Number two, their position is there are all sorts of evil people out there. I don't know that anybody's going to argue with that. There's people who do things with dogs every day that they should not, right? But because that's happening, right, and there's been a couple incidents. I'm sure you saw the one in North Carolina with the guy with the lab, and then there's been one recently in Alabama, which is absolutely horrific. I mean, just horrific. But, we're talking.
Which none of that was related to an e-collar, by the way. Just point of fact.
The lab one, we'll talk about. I'm going to bring that up when you're done. Go ahead.
Yeah, but that's the whole thing. The one in Alabama, for example, nothing to do with an e-collar, right? Nothing to do with training tools. But here's the position from the other side. The position is, because things like that happen, what we need is regulation. We need licensure. We need these dog trainers to be licensed. We need them to be regulated. We need them to be, inspected. We need all these things. Well, that's just the very entry to this whole situation. What comes later is this certification, this licensure, this regulation is going to now include.
Do these people live in the United States? Like, they live under the United States government. They saw how we handled COVID, right? Like,
absolutely.
They saw. We didn't even have a national speed limit, by the way. We didn't even have a national fucking language. But they're thinking that they're going to pass a law about licensing for canine for dog trainers.
Oh, yeah. And they have in some states, you know.
I understand that. And that's the whole thing. When this has come up before with, I think, Eric, when we talked to Pat and Glenn, also from Australia, are two guys that are awesome trainers. And I've known Pat's too, and for a long time, great guy. We talked about it, but I was like, fundamentally, you know, the United States is a weak form of federalism. So I can foresee that if this were to come down as a federal mandate, where I live, for example, Oklahoma, just by default, anytime there's a mandate from the federal government, we sue back. Just as a knee-jerk reaction. Oklahoma as a whole is kind of like oppositional, like defiance complex or something. Just out of sheer spite, we use the 10th Amendment just to fuck with the federal government for no reason. And I could foresee that. There has been cases too, when we kind of were talking about this in the background, where they have had to do or tool bans in cities. And I know for a fact that some of the e-collar manufacturers have stepped in and sued and won. Or not necessarily sued, but have gotten an injunction.
Lobbyists,
have gotten an injunction based on that. And this is the thing that floors me all the time when these people talk about banning these tools. So outside of pets, like how many pets are in the country or in the United States? Like, I don't even
millions,
know. Millions, right? Dogs, not pets, just dogs. They're pet dogs. The other second largest population of dog owners in this country are hunting dog owners. Whether it's coon dogs, bird dogs, pointers, whatever, some kind of version of retriever pointer thing. And if you're listening to this and you know anything about how those dogs are trained, it is 1000% escape training or whatever you want to call it, and they use e-collars. I can't for the life of me and there's enough of those customers that there are 3 at a minimum multi-million-dollar businesses that have built their business on the back of hunting dog trainers and hunting dogs. And I just can't foresee how some upset people about the way that somebody uses an e-collar in some random place is going to upset that balance. Can you imagine telling some bird dog trainer from Nebraska that he's not allowed to use an e-collar anymore and how that would go?
Well, let me say this. Historically speaking, and I'll just say this is my opinion, you may or may not agree. Some of the best prong collars ever manufactured came out of Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That does not surprise me.
Those collars,
they still make good ones.
Those collars are banned in Germany.
Yeah, and they still make good. In fact, I had a giant order show up the kennel before I came home.
Yeah, I'm just, to think that it can't happen to us is really, I tend to believe that it really can. And again, I think it's a sort of a social shift, right? To this belief that dogs are, family, part of the family unit, just like children. And as such, we have to treat them certain ways and those sorts of things in lieu of, dogs being dogs. And it's starting to get hold. It really is.
Off the top of your head, what are some of the larger countries like around the world that already have bans that on it?
Australia's mixed. It's kind of mixed. It's a little strange. In that one state, this will be completely banned. In the state next door, it's perfectly legal. But the other thing, e-collar's banned here, but you can use a prong collar. Over here, you can use the opposite, and then the state next door, you can't use any of them. So it's super mixed up. Europe's getting hit pretty hard. I've got lots of folks over in Europe that I talk to on a regular basis, friends in Europe, and they're feeling the pinch. I'll just be honest with you. They are absolutely feeling the pinch. Your working dogs, police dogs, police and military working dogs, your competition sports are being impacted. Pet owners are being impacted, right? The UK has a ban. That has impacted them greatly, and I say that because, for example, if you've ever been over to Northern Ireland, Scotland, some of those places, They have what they call penny walls. And penny walls are, I don't know, 3,000-year-old fences that are built out of rocks, right? And they're about 3 foot tall. And they're great for keeping sheep in. And they're not really good for keeping predators out. Well, when you've got a bunch of pastoral breeds and dogs running loose, and overnight you take away those tools that are used to maintain those dogs, guess what you're going to end up with? The absolute mass slaughter of a lot of these herd animals and livestock. You know, and it's, like I said, the fallout's just a lot greater than a lot of people think.
You know, the weird thing too is, man, like the guy in North Carolina with the labs, we're in a weird position here because I looked at what he was charged with, all the different things that the guy was charged with. He should have been charged like criminally for sure. However, you're in a weird spot there because they made some statements about the use of the e-collar. They're flat out untrue, like absolutely untrue. That he used this, that he shocked the dog with the e-collar so much that the dog's eyes bled. Not true. Can't do it. Not true. Till the dog threw up. I'm telling you, that didn't happen. There's no way the dog threw up from the e-collar. There was a lot more involved in that. All this, so you're put in a weird position where you have to defend, not the guy, defend that. Like if I was his attorney, I could get 3 or 4 of those charges thrown out right now just by bringing an e-collar expert in. But he should pay for all that other shit he absolutely did on video to those dogs. We're in a really weird. But that's one of those cases, man. If they go forward with that and they get somebody to come in and say, yes, you can use an e-collar and it will make the dog's eyes bleed. You cannot physically do that to a dog with an e-collar. You can't do it. And he did it so long that the dog, whatever. As we know, all those e-collars time out.
12 seconds on a dog.
You can't do anything so long with that dog that he's going to have, his eyes bleed or whatever bullshit it was. So we're in a strange situation there. I'm going to go ahead and take our first break. When we come back, I want to talk about like what you think we need to do, like where it comes and what IACP is looking at and see what we're kind of headed with that. So we'll be right back.
Hey guys, it's me again, back with some more awesome sponsors. I want to talk a little bit about Ray Allen Canine Manufacturing. Who else in our industry allows us to come to them with ideas as handlers, as dog professionals, and say, you know what, I think I would like to make this, or wouldn't this be a good idea? And they will actually sit down with you and talk to you about your designs. I've got a collab with them on a muzzle, on a leash and a collar. They're amazing to work with. Their products are top notch. They're made in America, in Colorado, and we love Matt. So give them a holler. Check them out on socials at Ray Allen, the letter K, the number 9, or visit them online at rayallen.com and use our discount code WDR10 RAY for 10% off. Guys, have you visited DOGTRA lately? If you go to DOGTRA, they have their new online portal. And it's really cool, very user friendly. You don't have to call them and order them anymore. You can go to mydogtra.com and they have everything there. You can set up an online profile. They keep your orders. They know what you've used. We use everything, their ball droppers and poppers. We use their e-collars, their 1900S hands-free for our officers, their Q and their 280 for our pet clients. We use all of their products all the time. Eric travels around and does seminars specific to DOGTRA, so you can have him come in and teach a class on how to use it. Check them out, dogtra.com, and follow them on their socials. We love KINETIC dog food. Ted has been using the large format. It makes excellent tracking treats. He uses it for teaching article indication. It's these huge nuggets of food that you can lay down, grab, put in your trainer's pouch. The quality is excellent. We love Debbie and Dave. We have a great relationship with them. They want to know you. They will talk to you about nutrition, about what your dog's needs are. They'll help get you set up. Their food is available everywhere. We've gotten it off of Chewy. You can buy it at stores. Like, please check them out. KINETICdogfood.com. Your dog needs these nutrients, and they are really specific to our industry's needs. They have a full line of supplements now. Please check them out. We'll have some soon that we can give away. Go check them out. Follow them on their socials at KINETIC Dog Food. They'll really appreciate that.
All right, everybody, we're back. Working Dog Radio, broadcasting the bite. Talking with our buddy Jason Purgason from Harmony, North Carolina, down at Highland Canine. Full service dog training company, like working dogs, pet dogs, service dogs. And in the last segment, I want to talk about it a little bit.
And trainer school.
And yeah,
you can go live with Jason and Aaron for 6 months.
Yeah, you come back.
I've been there.
Yeah.
It's nice.
I met guys and girls that have gone through their school, and they come out and they know stuff about, they're good with dogs. I mean, I've seen several people, and I think the goal is they come out and go train their own business or go get a job someplace. But anyways, we'll get into that again here in a little bit. So we were talking about things possibly on the horizon in the U.S. based off of what we're seeing in Europe, which would be the banning of prong collars, e-collars. I would assume choke chains in that. It's funny because like they'll ban that, but they're still allowed to use steel toe boots in their training, and you can kick the dog as hard as you want or drown a puppy in a bucket full of water, but God, don't put a prong collar on the dog. So because I know you've been super active, when did you start hearing whispers of this stuff in the IACP?
Legislation, regulation, tool bans, it's been going on. It's been gaining ground more than a decade. Really, this has been going for more than a decade. Just sort of going back to a little bit of what we were talking about before the break there. The message of these groups, right? As I say groups, you asked earlier, is it groups? Is it individuals? It's a mix. So you got groups. You also have individuals. And a lot of these individuals are, big time social media influencers and people who have a pretty strong voice. They're captured by these other organizations to help spread the message. Let me tell you this, their message is not intertwined with any truth most of the time. I'm being honest with you. Some of these folks, I don't know who they got working for them, but some of the propaganda that they're able to produce, if they were working for the U.S. government in World War II, that war would have been over in about 7 months. I mean, these folks are good. They're really good. We're talking.
They'll allow, it's fascinating to me what people will concentrate on, not real problems, violence over here. It's this bullshit narrative. And I'll give an interesting story. We had clients that came to us with a dog that they had as a golden retriever who had bitten them a couple of times, not hard, just hurting bites actually. And nice dogs come to our daycare. It's fine. But they have a family member who is one of those, is a purely positive trainer, but what is it? Somebody said it the other day. Death before discomfort is what those people's kind of knowledge base is. And so their daughter couldn't fix this dog through the purely positive. So she recommended euthanizing the dog. So they came to us for training, and we used tools, and we're transparent about it. And the dog did amazing at the training. So when they came to the go home, they had it in their mind because they were told by family and some other people that an e-collar will paralyze your dog, that your dog will be paralyzed for sure, have a stroke or paralyzed by the use of the e-collar, and that prong collars are shaven down to a point. We've heard that, and it cuts in and it'll cut their jugular and everything else. So the whole time during the course of the go home, it's like 4 hours, the husband kept playing with he goes, when would you ever be on 100? And I kept saying, if that dog's running for that busy road over there, do what you got to do. You're going to save that dog's life. Well, won't it paralyze him? I said, I promise you, sir, it will not paralyze him. So while we're sitting there, he shocked himself on 100 on the collar. I'm just sitting there talking, and he jumps out of his seat. I'm like, sir, what the hell are you doing? So I wanted to see what that felt like at 100. I go, cool. Are you paralyzed? No. I said, do you think that we would be in business still? We do 40 to 50 pet dogs a month if we were paralyzing dogs. You don't think that would be everywhere? Like everyone besides your family member would know that that's actually how that happens? So while we were doing the lesson, the go home outside, we do off leash stuff, doing the recall. Dog's doing good. Chases up a rabbit. Rabbit bolts out of the bushes, and that dog is gone, headed for the road. Guy gets on the e-collar, or the wife had the e-collar, rolls it up. Dog, you hear the dog getting vocal, turns around, comes back. Now, she wasn't at 100, but she was high. And I said, that is when you would be at 100 right there, because that dog was, 40 feet from getting hit by a car, and you saved the dog's life. Good job. Let's put this dog up. 2 weeks later, a week later, they came back to come to daycare, and they have the e-collar locked on an 8. And I said, hey, sir, why is this collar locked? Because it will paralyze that dog. He went home, and the influence of those people immediately got in his head to something we just proved was not true, that he saw it in action. And he went and had that thing locked on 8. So I get their determination, and their false narrative is wild, how they can try to get into people's heads there.
Yeah. I mean, look at anything on the internet. Go to the internet. Here's the thing. This is what I tell my students all the time. As a professional trainer, the first thing you got to understand is when most people have an issue with their dog, they're not picking up the phone calling you. Plain and simple. The first thing they're going to do is they're going to ask their friends and family if they know what to do. Maybe. If they don't get any help there, the next place they're going is the internet if they don't go there first. You go to the internet, and everything, practically everything you see, everything these people are finding is very much the same message. And that message is, science-based. That term, we can talk about that later if you want to, but science-based. I love science-based. I love death before discomfort. Here's another one, behavioral euthanasia. That's another one that
this sounds like bands that I listen to.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
Ted's tuning into behavioral euthanasia.
Exactly.
So his whole playlist we're talking about right here. So, yeah, these catchphrases, one of those you may have heard, Lima. Have you heard of Lima before?
Oh, yeah.
Lima.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What do most people know? What do most people understand about Lima? Right? That Lima is this anti-aversive, and that's not what it is at all.
No. It's just you're using literally the least amount of force as possible. It's literally in the fucking name. But if you Google it, everything you're going to find is from this purely positive, force-free community. Lima came from a guy named Stephen Lindsay, in the 90s, this whole concept. And that group, those groups, absolutely hijacked. 100% they co-opted it. And so the way that they spin it is, I'm not against using any force. I just believe that you can use the least amount as possible, and then they follow that up with, if you're a good enough trainer, you shouldn't have to use any of it. That's how they've co-opted it, right? So like, we're Lima trainers, but we don't believe in using it. We use using as little force as possible. And if you're a good enough trainer, you shouldn't. That's how they sell it. Believe me, because I was going to mention this a minute ago, and for my canine handlers listening to this, if you are a law enforcement canine handler in the United States, this section is for you. So I have 2 departments. One that's not one of my departments. They reached out to me about this, and another department was what is one of my departments, and they were getting pushback from some locals because the dogs are wearing e-collars. So in my version of the e-collar thing that I do for law enforcement, I have 2 slides where I talk about, I call it nerd stuff. And it's the difference between volts and voltage and resistance and amps. And I talk about Ohm's law, what the difference between all those are. And then I start explaining like how e-collars work in milliamps, which are, so when Eric is talking about literally there is not enough battery power in those things. Even the old DOGTRAs or the old Tritronics that had that thing you had to pop off the bottom, those things were fucking hot, like super hot. Looks like the cell phone from Saved by the Bell. It had a single button with a guard around it. And I know why there's a guard around it because, man, they were hot. And even those things didn't produce enough horsepower to hurt a dog or not to like cause physical damage. And the problem is it's akin to the language that we're using, right? Like people call them shock collars. People call them, and I just call them remote collars. It's a remote collar is all it is. And I do that specifically for the law enforcement for this reason. So this department was getting pushback from a local they were from a force-free trainer. So I just talked to this admin and I said, listen to me, dude, there are 5 federal court cases in this country and 6 at the state level that departments have been sued unsuccessfully and successfully, and qualified immunity was denied in part because, in some of the cases, because the dog did not have any collar. And the ones that they did, and they still lost qualified immunities because the handler was not properly trained on it. And their face turns white. And I'm like, yeah. And I said, it's almost like, and if you're listening to this, go back and read Kerr versus West Palm Beach. This was where all of this started, not from the e-collar side, but from how we determine handler control and the elements of handler control. But there are 5 federal court cases that specifically mention an e-collar in the decision, and it is part of the decision for granting or denying qualified immunity. And in one of the cases, the plaintiff actually argued that not having a mandatory e-collar policy and training resulted in a Fourth Amendment violation. And it won. The qualified immunity was denied, and then it was reversed at a jury trial. But still, that should be a pucker moment. So if you're listening to this and you think the IACP they're going to try and prevent this from happening, but if you think that they're going to come in and upend and from my knowledge, federal judges don't take very well to politicians telling them how to run their courtrooms, nor that listen to politicians who like, you need to reverse this decision. Like, it's not how that works. These decisions have been in the books for, I think one of them is 15 years old. So if you're listening and you want them, you can email me. I'll send them to you. But they're in my presentation that I give, and I scare the shit out of handlers and admins. And I'm like, so proper training, just like on everything, on your taser, on your firearms, on your car, on your mental health bullshit that you have to do, and on the e-collar, you need to have it as well. But you're right. That's how they co-opt it. They're like, well, it's the least invasive method available, I think is what it stands for, right? Or
least intrusive, minimally aversive is what LEMA stands for. What they've hijacked it to mean is non-intrusive, non-aversive.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
yeah. I was doing the acronym in my head. I was like, what is this? I was hoping it was going to spell something ridiculous.
But on a side note to all this, though, we when I say we were talking about the working dog side, our own worst enemy with this stuff. One of the biggest parts of the seminar that I'm teaching around the country is about prong collar, and about how prong collars still are viewed by a lot of agencies just because this is bullshit that was passed on from the 70s and the 80s into the early 90s, is that it's the ultimate correction. Like, that's the thing you go get when your dog just keeps forging and there's nothing you can do about it, or the verbal out part where, and I've had it. I had agencies here, a training group at my facility, and they were just using it. They didn't come for me to work with them. They were using the facility, and I'm watching them work their outwork, and it's pretty terrible. And they're on a first saver, and then I hear the trainer, whoever he was, say, go get a prong collar. We'll get it. Go get a prong collar. I was like, hey, I think I might have to step in at this point and just show you guys a couple little things here. But when I came up, and probably when you came up, that was like, I say this all the time. We had one prong collar, the prong collar. Go get the prong collar and put it on your dog. We're going to get this fucker straight. And I was like, oh my God, my dog must be the worst dog that's ever existed. I have to get the prong collar out, blowing dust off that bitch, to get it and put it on it. Meanwhile, now I have a little 105-pound lady with a 190-pound Saint Bernard, and she's walking that dog with 2 fingers on the leash on a prong collar.
Those dogs are dumb as shit too. So you almost have
anyways,
to.
and I think and I know education at the IACP is such a big thing, but how do you think we overcome that side of it? Like, overcome us being dumbasses about the way the stuff's used?
Well, it's part of the problem. And it's not just working dogs. I'll be honest with you. Pet dog trainers are probably just as bad about being their own worst enemy sometimes. Again, education is number one. Number two, I think part of it is having some understanding and some level of appreciation that this really is starting to turn into an us against them. You know, going back to your earlier statement about the pet dog, we have kept thousands of dogs out of shelters by employing training tools to best help the clients keep those dogs in their home. We have saved hundreds, if not thousands, of dogs from getting a needle at a vet. I mean, you know, I hate to say it, but it's
The
death.
number's
You know, that's
probably
their
higher.
other.
The number's probably higher than that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the alternative for some of these. We have to develop better strategies, or you know, imminent death for these dogs because they're just incapable of living with that particular owner in that situation without that owner having some help. Plain and simple. And again, as you know, these tools are used for communication. They have evolved over the years. You know, again,
Training has evolved.
Yeah.
The
Training has
training is
evolved.
evolved.
Absolutely. The tools have evolved, the methodologies, the strategies, everything has gotten way better exponentially in the last 20 years, right? But, you know, the other side still, you know, showing archaic training devices as if they're being used today. Again, their message is not littered with the truth, plain and simple.
You know, and that's something that is super important. And maybe it's because of how I am, but typically when I interact with people like that, I don't do the emotional thing at all. Rarely, if ever, if anything, but especially on this. And I say, these are the facts and this is what it is. And it is what it is. And while I understand that these people have their hearts in the right place most of the time, I think it comes from a very ill-founded foundation. And at the end of the day, it's the results that matter. And I have to remind my trainers a lot, and I have to remind other trainers that aren't my trainers, that are pet trainers. And I think a lot of people in this country want to create a lot of pet trainers. Like if you're a pet trainer and you're listening to this, your job is not to create dog trainers. Your job is to create a responsible pet owner that is happy with their dog. Every owner that comes to us for pet training, they just want their fucking dog to come back when they call them. That's it. I mean, that's not it. But I mean,
there's their laundry and eat their
not
panties.
getting their laundry, yeah, and eat stuff, not get on the goddamn trash can, not, you know, all the annoying behaviors. They're not interested in being a dog trainer. And I run into that all the time, which I fight with my kennel manager about it because she wants to send homework home with people, whatever else. I'm like, they didn't do fucking homework in high school or in college. It makes you think they're going to do fucking homework with their dog. Like, they don't want to do homework. They just want the motherfucker to do what they want him to do. That's it. That's all they want him to do. And they don't want to train a dog. They don't want to start a business. Like, he's an accountant already. He doesn't need to start a dog training business. I promise. And I have to remind my young trainers that I'm like, we're not creating dog trainers here. We're creating pet owners. Completely different thing. And for whatever reason, the e-collar is the easiest form of passing the torch. Like when we go because it's a language that is universal for the dog, right? So whoever's running the remote, it doesn't really matter the timing, there's a whole other conversation about timing and other shit, but as long as things are relative, right? It's a universal language, and it's something that makes when we pass the torch from trainer to owner back, right? It makes it like it's a sense of empowerment both for the dog and for the owner. And I can't count the number of times that I've had clients cry during go homes because they're like, I can't believe the dog is like doing this. And they're like, oh my, and they're so happy. And you're like, we didn't really do much. I mean, we did, but it's just, that shit kind of baffles me when people like, when I see that and I'm like, how can you be adverse to this process? Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. And like, just to kind of reiterate stuff that Jason said, those of us who are, balanced trainers here, where we're using whatever works, right? Listen, just like you, if I could do as many things with just food and positive reinforcement, I'm doing it, right? Whatever works. But it's when it comes down to it, for a lot of times, it's us or the needle. That's it. It's us or the needle. Because if you go to these behaviors, which I think is the biggest con job in the world, is that, and behavioral veterinarians is a huge scam. They're 100% of the time, they're going to give you either drugs or euthanizing. Their answer is never training. Never. It's drugs or euthanizing. And most of them will tell you that a board and train will destroy your dog's psyche. So that stuff is wild to me that they just say that. And they'll charge owners thousands of dollars for this 10-page report that says you need drugs. Just give your dogs drugs. No solution to fix the issue with the dog that is shitting himself every time you try to open a crate or has bit two people.
I'll go out and look. I'll say this: when we have dogs come in, we have a medically necessary only prescription policy. We will only administer drugs at our facility that are medically necessary. Phenobarbital, stuff for the seizures, medications, antibiotics, stuff like that. And I tell owners, I was like, psychotropics and and like SSRIs are not medically necessary. And they're like, well, my vet said, and I'm like, I don't care what your vet said. I'm telling you, they are not medically necessary. The dog doesn't need them, and I'm not going to give them to him. And I can't tell you the number of local vets call and motherfuck me, and I do it right back. And I'm like, I guess I missed in veterinarian school where they taught you guys how to train dogs. And I just end up I'm like, we're not doing it. I don't care what you say.
And you have to be real careful too with vets, because say something happened and somebody tried to sue you as a business owner, the veterinarian comes into court, they're going to be the SME and you're a turd.
But here's the fun part. I just call the OBN and report them for overprescribing and then unnecessarily prescribing with their prescription, then see what fucking happens.
I wish we could end the prescription dog food scam too. But anyways, so the IACP, do you guys have I know it's a larger, I would imagine, like a medical wing, so to speak, where you're trying to educate or they're trying to educate you, or it's a mutual thing with you guys?
No, medical stuff, no. No, most of our educational stuff is around things that are going to be, at the forefront of what professionals need. Business stuff, training stuff, that sort of thing is really where our focus is for now.
Where have you guys had to really step in and help, like in this country so far, as an example?
There's been legislation in Jersey, California's big, Bay Area, San Francisco, pushing for e-collar bans. I know a lot of people, fortunately, got involved in that one, even folks from the East Coast and, people in other parts of the country made their voice heard, and it helped. That, as far as I know, is still sitting sort of in limbo, I guess, to be reconsidered. But again, the reality is it was full steam ahead. That particular piece of legislation, as far as I know, it was full steam ahead there for quite some time, and gaining some ground in a way that people thought that it was going to be a, sure winner. It's a bit of a slippery slope. North Carolina, I can tell you, it passed new regulations. This is not a law. This is regulations for commercial boarding kennels and places like that. 2 years ago, I think, year and a half ago. Didn't say that you couldn't use e-collars or other training tools. What it said was, if you were going to, you had to disclose that to the owner at the time they dropped them off. As you may know, around Tampa, they've got a truth in training system there.
That was the compromise when they lost the lawsuit, because they tried to ban it, and that's the case that I was talking about, where they stepped in and a large kennel or a large e-collar manufacturer stepped in and countersued and got an injunction, and that was the compromise. Which I mean, anybody that's hiding that from their client anyway is a shithead. But I mean, just be honest about it. This is how we do it. We're balance trainers. I mean, we use e-collars, we use prong collars, we use food, we use everything. So I don't know. I don't feel like that's a bad thing.
No. Yeah, I'm not saying being transparent with your clients is a bad thing. I think it's just, again, I think that's where it starts, right? And then it moves from there to something else, to something else, to something else. And that is the wish of these other folks, and they're part of the problem, in my opinion. This is my opinion here. Part of the problem is the people who are considered balanced trainers, if we want to use that term, they're busy training dogs. They're busy helping pet owners. They're busy
Exactly.
training police dogs. The other side of that, they're busy on social media. They're busy developing content. They're busy making sure that their voice is heard and lobbying legislators and that sort of thing, and staying in their ears. And that's the battle we're fighting right now. Not to say that we need to step away from training dogs and helping people. I'm not suggesting that at all. We do it every day. We'll continue to do it, but we've got to do a couple things. One, we've got to have a united voice. Kind of as you said earlier, Eric. We as dog trainers infight too much. I'm putting words in your mouth there a little bit, but we infight. Yeah, we infight too much, and we need to be focused on what's down the road for us if we're not careful. So that's number one. Number two, we need to have a bit of a united voice. And number three, we need a bigger voice. You talk about the folks in the vet's office getting drugs. They're looking for a solution. I mean, the fact of the matter is they're looking for a solution. If a better solution is provided to them or offered to them, what I have found is most of these folks, they want an answer to their problems, plain and simple.
And they want a solution in the right place. And they have their heart, and they want to be happy with their dog. That's Absolutely. What they want.
The question is, who do they ask first, right? And that's going to oftentimes decide which direction they go.
And there's an inherent amount of trust that's built into doctors, like, professionals, accountants, attorneys, which attorneys don't deserve it. But I've made no bones that I hate attorneys. I think they're the most overvalued people in the room, and they will be the ones to tell you that too. And then, veterinarians as well, because there's an inherent trust built in, right? Like, I'm coming to you for help, and you're supposed to help me because I'm paying you to do it, right? And I think a lot of times veterinarians come out of their lane and they give a lot of advice that they shouldn't be giving. And they have no basis of doing it because they're a quote unquote doctor. People are like, oh, that's true. Yeah, it must be true. It must be true. Same thing with attorneys. Like, there are people that could tell you, like an attorney could tell you the sky is green, and they're like, well, an attorney said it. I'm like, yeah, they're an attorney. They're not a fucking meteorologist. Like, what do they know about the weather? What do they know about? So like, I read on the internet that I can put him on Prozac or doggy Prozac or whatever the new one is. That everybody's giving, and our vet's like, man, call these guys first. It'll be cheaper and healthier. The dog will live longer, and they definitely will be able to fix this.
And we have is next.
That's all it takes.
We have an agreement with our vet. They don't give out behavioral advice. We don't do fecals and heartworm snap tests, so it works out for us.
Right. But I will throw a metronidazole down a dog's neck without asking.
100%.
Stopping that diarrhea now.
I will 100%. I will nuke it. So you got a little loose, buddy? Guess what? You get some Bill Jack with a crunchy center.
So what is like IACP looking for from? What do they need from people? What are they hoping to see out of stuff?
Well, again, looking obviously as any organization is, we're looking at growing our membership. Not only growing our membership, but getting more of our members certified. That's really important because the certification portion goes hand in hand with the legislation portion. We just saw that really play out in the last week in Singapore, right? We were Marlene, she's on our board, and she's the director of oversight for legislative committee. I mean, she does an absolute bang up 1,000% remarkable job. She's staying up to 3 a.m, talking to people in Singapore at 3 p.m. That sort of thing's going on. Unfortunately, we have to be a little bit reactive and rely on these people to let us know that these things are going on, number one. Fortunately, I had a former student from Singapore, so made a little connection there. In Singapore, dog trainers are required to be certified. They're required to be licensed. Well, the Singapore government basically said, okay, these are the certifications that you got to have. Well, guess what they were? Those certifications that are driven by this force-free, purely positive community. The Singapore government didn't even know IACP existed or had any type of certification. So we were able to make some headway there in hopefully we're going to be able to make some changes to that pretty quick. It looks very promising. So hopefully by the time this thing airs, we'll have had that done. But, again, just awareness is key. Education is super critical. Again, making people aware. I think most people agree. I had this conversation earlier today or yesterday the folks that are making the laws, the folks that are making the rules and regulations, they don't know anything about what we do, or very little.
No.
They don't know anything about anything.
Yeah,
For the
well,
most part.
it's our job to sort of manage
Much less
up on
this.
this one. We have got to educate those people so that they have a better understanding, because I can tell you, by the time you get to them, the other side's probably been in their ear for a while. So, I mean, that's where we're fighting right now.
And the thing is, we can use social media influencers on our side too. Like I tell people, I go, they can't look like the three of us. We need
Sure.
other people to do it. And I mean, I'll gladly make informational videos on stuff. Just like you said, though, we're working, we're busy. Like today, I meant to make a couple reels for Facebook, and then I got done. I was like, oh, son of a bitch, I didn't do any of it. I was
We actually
busy
had on
doing whatever.
We actually had on somebody that I think is on the pet side anyway. Is probably one of the better guys in the country at navigating this little minefield. It's Tom Davis. Yeah, and he, when we wanted to have him on, he's like, "What do you guys want to talk to me for?" He was like, "I don't train police dogs." I'm like, "Yeah, but you're a really good e-collar trainer." And he, listening to him talk to clients, just normal people that have dogs, he has a really, really good personable affect, like the exact opposite of me. The exact opposite of me about dealing with people, and like how he does the whole integration thing, and how he does, and he gets some gnarly bite history dogs that he's able to turn around like fairly quickly, and he does produce great content. He's kind of softer around the edges than like Eric and I are, for damn sure. So but
yeah, we've got our annual educational conference coming up in 3 weeks, 3 weeks, 1st of September, Dallas Fort Worth. We're
nice.
going to be at Will Rogers, and Tom Davis is going to be there speaking. So
Nice.
Perfect.
We're super excited to have super excited to have him there speaking.
So before we go to the next commercial, what's the direct way to get a hold of IACP or to look at them versus Googling it and going to the chief of police ball sucker website?
IACPdogs.org. It's not a .com, it's a .org. IACPdogs.org. We're also same Canine Professionals on Facebook. We're also on Instagram as well. So
it's funny. I have an IACP cot that was sold like at a discount somewhere. I was like, ooh, I like that. I'm gonna buy a bunch of those. So I got a few of them in my place. I've shown actually a lot of videos, and people have asked me about it. So we're going to go ahead and take our next commercial break. When we come back, I'm going to talk to Jason about some dog training stuff real quick. Before I go there, Ted, earlier you said about you don't do the emotion pretty much about anything. That might have been the most Asperger's thing that you have ever said in the entire time I've known you.
I thought you were going to say just on this episode, but
no, since I've known you.
Yeah, that's 100% accurate. I mean, I'm on the spectrum somewhere. Faux show.
As soon as you said, I was like, oh well, yeah. I mean, duh. So all right, stick around. We'll be right back.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. Please check out our friends Jason and Aaron Purgason at Highland Police Canine. If you guys are interested in going to school, if you've come out of the military, you can use your GI Bill to go through their school. They have a pet training school, they have a police training school, they have online courses that you guys can take, such as their Canine Supervisor course. You guys can really take that as far as you want with them. They are a veritable fountain of knowledge when it comes to canine. They're located in North Carolina. They're always accessible, always available, and we've had such a long relationship with them. I cannot say enough good about them. So please check them out. If you go to Tactical Police Canine Training, go to their online programs, check them out. Use the discount code NARC for 20% off any of their online courses. Guys, that will help you. It'll help you make headway in this industry. I don't know about you guys, but a lot of times when we're talking about dog kennels and their construction, like you don't know where to start. What do I do? What do I add? I need to weatherproof this, waterproof this, pea proof this. If you guys have checked out Horizon Structures lately, it's unbelievable. They literally have everything that you could possibly need. They can build your kennel with as many holes as you want in it, and they can drive it out to you, set it on your pad, hook it up, and you can move dogs in it immediately, from mild to wild, from one kennel all the way up, from the tiniest of pet runs to the hardest of working dogs. If you can dream it, they can build it. Go ahead and check them out at horizonstructures.com. Go specifically to their working dog area. It's commercial-dog-kennels. Give them a call, 888-447-4337. And of course, check them out on their socials at Horizon Structures, and they will hook you guys up. American aluminum has been such an asset to us. Our officers have their canine inserts. They have organizational lockers for the back of your patrol vehicle. They literally have just now put out an amazing heat system and alarm that integrates with their canine insert. Guys, they do it all. Give them a call. Check them out. It is high quality. It's made here in America. If you go to Easy Rider Online, check them out, or give them an email at quotes at AAA-mail.com, or give them a phone call, 800-277-0869, and check them out. We also want to send a huge shout out. He recently passed away. Rest in peace, Brother Dege. Thank you for our music. Thank you for the permission to use it. We really appreciate it, and we hope that you're doing well on the other side. Thank you guys for listening.
All right, everybody, we're back. Working Dog Radio, broadcasting the bite. Ted and I with Jason Purgason, our good friend from Highland Canine. If you listened and didn't skip through the commercials, you heard some ads for Highland Canine, their Supervisor online course, which, are you guys still doing that one, Jason?
Yeah, that's one of our sort of legacy programs.
Yeah.
We've got new series out, pretty new series out now on criminal interdiction, roadside techniques, stops, interviews, that sort of thing. Gary's the one teaching that, and we've gotten a lot of good feedback on it.
You know, we talk a lot about I always say when agencies are like, there's no liability with dogs, and I'm like, you first of all, you made that up. It doesn't really exist that much, as like people say. There's not millions and millions of dollars paid out. None of these admins can ever point to piles of cases of liability. But when it does happen, it's always failure to supervise. And
failure to train.
Yeah, and failure to train. And most supervisors in this country that are supervising the canine unit were put in there for that year. Maybe I would say a year, maybe 2 years, and they don't ever go to any kind of training. So when we started advertising that on there, I was like, this is a no-brainer. Like, talk about that course and a couple of the courses you guys offer online, and like, they're cheap. Like, the fact of what you're doing, man, to me is, I mean, you have a business and everything, but you're not getting rich off of these courses. You're definitely providing amazing information.
Yeah, definitely not getting rich on online courses. We, again, as we've talked in earlier episodes, my wife and I both come from a real strong law enforcement background. We were in it for years. We absolutely love the law enforcement community, military working dog community. We want to create improvement, even if it impacts our bottom line. That has been the case for the longest time. We're not getting rich on police dogs. We're not getting rich on online classes. I can promise you that. We're going to continue to produce those and put them out. We're not doing it as quick as we'd like, but we're working on it. But yeah, we've got an array of classes on there. We've got that whole section on the supervisory stuff. It can be a la carte. They can go into 1 or 2 classes. Obviously, they bundle it. They're going to get a better deal. Yeah, we've got classes on there for $19. I mean, as low as $19. So, we've got interdiction series, we've got detection stuff, we've got, just a lot of different classes. We are going to probably add somewhere between 2 and 3 more of those classes this year. Folks who are interested in learning more about online stuff, if they want to know when those classes are coming out, they need to follow us on Facebook or sign up for our newsletter, because we're always sending the new stuff out that way.
Yeah, I think it's great. And that's always the rub is, well, we didn't go because we were shorthanded and we couldn't travel. They want to pay the hotel room and everything else. But this is $19. Come on, man. Like, that's crazy. And you'll offer discounts every once in a while. And I love it, man. The online stuff is amazing what you guys are doing down there. So, let's talk about, I'm just curious. I want to follow up on a couple of things from previous episodes. So when we talked to Aaron before, you guys had really gotten into like some pretty interesting service dog things and gone into different avenues of all kinds of things. Has there been anything, I don't know why I thought of this, has there been anything that you guys have gotten into that just didn't really take off and it kind of bummed you out? Like, man, that would have been really cool.
It's not that it didn't take off. It's just, it hadn't grown. And one of them's the conservation detection dogs. We love doing those. I'm working an angle right now on some sea turtle stuff.
Oh, sweet.
We'll see how that goes. But, we love doing those. We've had a ton of success with those dogs, with the few that we've done with, different species. The bumblebee dogs have been a huge hit. Jacqueline has done remarkable stuff with those.
The bumblebee dogs, what do they do?
They find bumblebee nests, believe it or not. Alpine bumblebees. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I know bees are super important because they're pollinators and all that stuff, but no shit. I mean, I know they can find them, but I didn't ever, it doesn't surprise me. We've had we had the girls on from Hawaii that do and I just saw that they went to somewhere like Guam or something. We're looking for snakes and turtles and rabbits and shit or something. I don't know what the fuck they were looking for. But yeah, I mean, that would be a rad job. I'm going to go to Guam and go find wildlife with my dog. I'm closing Torchlight. I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Hey, get into sea turtles, man. You can go to some real cool places, Mexico, Hawaii. Think about it. It's all along the beach. So if you're into the beach, being a sea turtle dog handler would be a cool job.
Where do you think, why is it kind of slower getting into the conservation stuff?
Here's the thing. For example, sea turtles, right? So biologists would love for you to have 100 dogs on deck, trained and ready to go out and find sea turtle nests. The problem is, once they find them, if the biologist finds them first, they won't let you within 100 feet of them. So being able to develop viable training aids and set up those types of scenarios to train those dogs effectively is difficult. As you can imagine, I'm working in conjunction. I've had a number of talks with David, and I'm reaching out to some folks that are in the business of protecting sea turtles to try to see if we can come to some agreement that's going to make that situation a bit more of a reality. But
yeah, because that can be a one and done. Like they find the one and then they block it off, and you're like, well, I guess I'm going home.
Yeah. So, but like bumblebee stuff, very interesting story there. I won't bore you with it, but guess what you got to have to train bumblebee detection dogs? Well, you got to have you got to have bumblebees. Jacqueline Staub is the girl's name who handles that, and she's a grad student. When we first met her up at Appalachian State here in the mountains, and she had this bumblebee nest, basically hanging half in and half out of her apartment window. And she came home one day. This is one of the many funny stories, but she came home one day and the bumblebees decided that they wanted to chew through the side of the box she had them in. So she had an apartment full of bumblebees.
Oh,
and she didn't come in the apartment first. A roommate did. So you can imagine that was, but yeah, we did not to pitch our podcast, but we did a podcast episode with her.
You pitch it?
On A Life of Dogs, Life of Dogs podcast, right? We did this whole conservation dog episode, and we talked to different folks. She was one of them, and she tells the story of how she got into bumblebee detection dogs. And first dog was Darwin. He passed away after maybe a couple of years with a health issue, and then we've trained another one since named Gertie. And here's the thing, research shows that can't be done. There's been, God knows how many papers written from scientists and researchers who say it can't be done. The reality is we have video evidence of it being done in real life, not in a training environment, but in an actual operational environment. It was actually captured on video, this dog finding a nest, probably a week and a half after we trained it, maybe 2 weeks.
Why? What was the foundation of why it couldn't be done?
I'd have to go back and look.
Because I'm always at odds. We talked about
Because researchers say it can't.
Well,
you know how it goes.
If you're watching this on YouTube, you probably saw me snicker earlier when Jason mentioned science. I was like, oh, okay. And those are the ones, and Eric then was, talking shit about behaviors, which is a scam, and which is all allegedly science-based. And I get it. It would probably be difficult. Because I have a buddy that trains some batshit or bat guano dogs.
Done that one too.
Yeah. So, right. You can, as long as you can isolate it. I've had people ask me to do, because, weed is legal or regulated in Oklahoma. And there's a very specific mold that grows on the weed that'll fucking poison you. But you're not allowed to use chemicals to kill it. And it's a certain type of deal. And they're like, well, can you train a dog to find it? I'm like, well, of course you can. As long as I've got a sample, we can train them to find anything as long as I can isolate what I'm looking for. And so I would be interested to hear what the nerds think that it couldn't be done and second of all, do any of them have any detection training experience, not owning a dog, but any detection training experience? He's shaking his head.
Right.
No,
that's not important, is it?
No, of course. Fuck no, it's not. No, it's not important.
I've got that stuff somewhere. I'll try to shoot it over to you in an email or something, so you can just look at it yourself. But
that makes me so
always
interested.
interesting.
You were like, "Oh, it can't be done," and you're like, "Dude, 10 days after this dog left class, look, found a nest."
Hold my beer,
Now,
Jason. So, anytime anyone, by the way, says bat guano, I can only think of Ace Ventura Part 2. Where he has to find a certain bat in that thing. So that's what I do. So IACPdogs.org. How do people get a hold of Highland?
HighlandCanine.com, on the internet. We've got Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all the normal channels. So we're pretty easy to find. We've been around a while, so we're pretty easy to find.
And the website for the other thing is national or tactical. What is it?
For the police dog side?
Yeah, it's the national.
Tactical Police Canine Training.com.
That's it. Yeah, police canines. Yeah. Tactical police canine training.
We got 8 or 9 websites.
Well, I know.
So.
We've done the damn commercials enough. You'd figure out. Not off the top of my head. But
we've got one website just for the school, one just for the service dogs, one just for the police dogs, so forth and so on. So
yeah. And if you guys are interested, you guys do GI Bill in your school?
Oh, yeah. Have been for years. Yeah, we do Chapter 31, 33, 35. Yes, we do. Here at our main facility, right? We don't accept it quite yet at our Alabama campus or the one in Texas, but the one in Texas is our newest facility. It's almost ready to age into being able to accept it. You got to be in business there for a number of years before they'll even let you apply. So,
okay.
We're about to meet that mark in Texas. We've already met it in Alabama, so we're working on it. But
there's a little bit North Carolina, there's a little bit of history of that program down there.
Yeah.
That dude from where is he from? San Antonio. That dude, he's in prison. But there's a little bit of a history down there.
That was a bit of a mess. So they're obviously very cautious about just enrolling new schools into the VA program. But
anytime anybody reaches out to me and asks about wanting to become dog trainers, they want to get into it. They're looking for somebody like me to teach them. I always send them your way. I'm like, this is a no joke though. Like, you're not going to go there for 3 weeks and come back like Brown Mackie College with a certificate. Like, this is a half. So the cool thing about a 6-month class is you get the people that are in it, that are in there. This is what I want to do. Maybe they don't do it in the future because dogs are 24 hours a day and there's no break and there's no rest and it can get to you a little bit. I think sometimes you probably get people that come down and see you and see your place and your success and everything and think that's going to happen to them pretty quickly when they're still cleaning dog shit 5 minutes after, for 5 years, 10 years afterwards. And I just picked up poop today, as a matter of fact. So it's just,
well, as you both know, I let all my students know pretty early on, as you both know, as a business owner, 2 rules: you get rich, you work whenever you want, right?
right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I don't got to work for the man. Okay.
Yeah.
The dogs are become the man, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
there's a lot of burnout in it and things like that. It is nice to get to a point where you don't have to touch as many leashes as you normally do. But then eventually you're like, man, I wish I could just go in and work a dog and not spend $1,000 every day on some bullshit. I say this business is the death by $1,000 a day.
That's exactly right. I said that yesterday. I was talking with Alicia, and I was like, it's like $1,000 drip.
Yep.
Van, everything else, yeah.
Van full of kennel saw, van full of trash bags, van full of just
Yeah.
People have no idea.
No.
Yeah. I just get every time I get a text during the day, I'm like, now what? And I look and like, we need Odoban.
Okay.
Here we go. I'm off to Odoban. So Jason was, how about this, Ted? Where are you at? Let's do that.
Torchlight K9, letter K number 9, .com. That's Instagram, Facebook, all the things. My personal is Ted_Summers, which is a mix of memes and dog training, police dogs. And occasionally and I'll do some pet stuff. Like we got a pit bull, dachshund mix in. And of course I took the opportunity to post it and be like, it's a wiener pit, just like your mom. So
I think I saw that. Yes. That was
it is the ugliest fucking dog too. And then HRD Police Canine, and then working_dog_radio, and then OCK9fun.org is for the 501. But yeah,
cool. I Van S K9 on everything. Richside K9 Ohio, if you're interested in the pet dogs, and Tap Daddy BJJ on Instagram for the jiu-jitsu sticker side of things. I haven't really done a ton with it. I need to do more, but I'll say this. I should have announced this at the beginning. I've been traveling around the country doing this e-collar without conflict class, and it's e-collar without conflict for working dogs, but it's really not even 50% of it's e-collar. The other 50% is fixing relationship problems with you and your dog, all dogs, working dogs, all dogs, everything all together. I actually started today writing a book. Turning that, I've been asked by a lot of people, turning that PowerPoint and that conference into a book. And the cool thing is the PowerPoint makes a pretty good outline. So
weird how that works, eh?
Yeah, I used, so today I wrote the table of contents, the introduction, one other part, goals of the class, and I'm mostly done with chapter 1. So it's looking like maybe a 10-chapter book. So I should have it done summer of 25, the way things go.
Yeah,
but,
okay.
You never know. I just need to sit down and just keep typing. I might do some on the deck tonight, just sit around and do it. So, Jason, love having you on, man. I always love hanging out with you, talking to you. We have a good time when we see you.
It's been a pleasure. Yeah, I'm writing a book too, by the way. I started on mine like 11 years ago. Yeah, and I think you're farther along than I am.
I was going to say, like, what?
Yeah.
Like, no, I need to fucking write one.
We have a client, a pet dog client that we trained her dog a long time ago. I've known her mom forever. She is an author. So I'm like, well, fuck it, man. I'm just going to start. She gave me a list of things to do. And then it's like, don't ask me again if you're not going to start. Fair. So,
all right.
Yeah.
It's not as easy as it looks.
No, it's not.
All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. And this, actually, Jason, this one, I think there's only one ahead of it. So it'll be out pretty quickly here.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It should be out in early September, about when you start your handler course. So, or your trainer's course. So, all right, guys, have a good night.
Been a pleasure.
Thank you.